You're listening to the Homeownership podcast by Momentum Realty, real estate talk for buying, selling, and owning property.
Hey guys, Sean Patrick Maloney here, broker owner of Momentum Realty, located in Hanover, Massachusetts. Welcome to episode 36, Homeowner Documentation. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Maloney. Thanks for joining me this week. I want to talk to you about an important thing, and that's documentation of your home. A lot of times people always want to get the maximum value when they're selling it, but they don't do the steps that it takes to get that maximum value out of their home. I'm going to teach you a few things that are going to get you more money for your home and are very easy to do. One of the most important and pressing things I want to talk about right away is keep the documentation of everything you do within your home. I'm going to go over what all the documentation is, but just think, if it has something to do with your home, it's worth your time and you really want to put it somewhere. So you want to either build a folder or a binder. I suggest a binder. And I suggest thinking back in the day, like when you were a kid, where you were arts and craftsy and you built a little photo book of your vacations or other things like that. Some people call them scrapbooks, but you want to basically build a scrapbook about your home. There's a lot of places where you're going to want to put a lot of different things. And what this is going to do is when you go to sell the home, it's going to show the new home buyers that not only do you care about your home, but you truly, truly care. You have lots of information. You know everything and anything that went on. And they have the documentation to prove that what you say is the truth. It's not just that you tell them you fix things and stuff. You have receipts, you have the different plans, you have the different specs, and you have the warranties that go with them. So one of the first things you want in your book is your deed. At the time you purchase the home, you're going to get a copy of your deed, as well as a few other documentations like floor plans and also a plot plan that are going to be relevant to the next buyer of the home. A lot of people take this folder, they throw it in the back closet, and it all just disappears. And then when it's time to sell their home, they actually have to go look again on the registry of deeds, as well as go down to the town hall and get the different plans. So the fact of the matter is, when you buy your home, you're going to be given all these things. So start right away. Pretty much everybody nowadays has a printer that's able to take photocopies. You don't have to have your original in there, so just take a photocopy of it and add it to your folder or your binder. If you start building as you go right away, it makes it a lot easier, because when you're trying to do it all at one time versus piece by piece, it creates a lot more work. So when you get that floor plan, you get that original deed, you get that original plot plan, when you're buying the home, it's the start to your binder so that you can show people what you've done. Next, let's talk about items you purchase. So anything from washer, dryer, refrigerator, all these items, when you buy them, you're going to get a receipt from the company. Really important to keep those. This is important for a lot of reasons. It's not just important because you're going to get max value out of the sale of your home. Say you have a major loss and your insurance company says prove what you had in the home. These receipts are going to be your evidence of what you have in the home. The other thing is, most of these companies that come with long-term warranties, they require a proof of purchase. So if you had bought this on cash and you don't have proof of purchase through your credit card or through your debit card, it's going to be really important to have the receipts. But still, better yet, it'll always be more important to have the receipts, because they actually usually say the item serial number as well as the date and time of purchase. So really important to getting that max warranty, super important to when you have an insurance loss, and even more important when you're selling and you want to get max value out of it. That way there, you don't just have to tell the person that the fridge is 3 years old and hope they believe you. You're able to show that you purchased it on a certain date, certain time, and how much you spent on it, which is ultimately going to help you get more money for the actual item that you're selling, which you're selling the whole house, but you got to remember that each item within the home is going to actually build up value. So the more expensive items, whether they be water heaters, having a deck installed, having the roof redone, all these different things, we're going to end up with a lot of different receipts. So every time we purchase these items, we want to make sure we add those to the folder or binder. Next is plans for installation. So whether it be that you're putting a solar system on the roof, installing landscape irrigation, you did a new landscape install for plantings, you had a patio put in with underground utilities, you had an underground tank put in, a lots of different places where we actually have things installed in the ground, or we have things installed in a certain fashion, like a landscape planting, where you may not know exactly which plant is which. When you get those plans that the original designer or installer gives you, those are another great thing to add, because if I'm a new buyer and I'm buying a home and I don't know where the landscape irrigation is, it's a lot easier for me to work on my landscape irrigation or to hire a future contractor if I have the plan to show them. It's going to save me a lot of money, time, frustration, and irritation, because ultimately with things that are underneath the ground, the only way to find them is to dig them up. And usually when you try to dig them up, it tends to cause issues. So landscape irrigation and landscape lighting are a great one to understand that. Knowing where the wires run, knowing where the pipes run for future projects. Say I'm going to put in a patio and I say, okay, I'll put it over there. I might know that the landscape irrigation runs right underneath the middle of that patio. And it's not that I'm not going to put the patio there, but I know I need to call a landscape irrigation professional to put it in. So remember, all these plans that you get to install anything, and again, it's not just outside, it's also inside the home. If you have somebody installing a new TV on the wall or anything and they draw you a little schematic, you want to make sure you add those to your folder or binder. And again, same thing as all the items before we talked about purchasing. You want to make sure you add the receipts. That way they're those same things as the other purchases. When there's an issue in the future, you can actually go back to the person who did it. Another thing that's really important to add to the folder is a list of upgrades. The list of upgrades is something that I always suggest all my agents do when they're actually going to sell a home, is to list out everything done within, say, the past 5 or 10 years. Depending on the item, a roof, maybe every 10 years they fall off the list, but then other items that are quicker, like I reseeded the lawn, maybe those are only on there for the past 5 years. But those list of upgrades, if you just keep writing them down, a lot of times you're going to find that you've actually done a lot more than you think you have. Pretty much always there's things going on with a home. There's always upgrades being done. There's always changes being done. But because of this and the fact that we have so many things going on, a lot of times we forget what we've done. And the thing with forgetting what we've done when we go to sell the home is we're not going to get the max value out of the home unless we tell people the things that we've done and the things that we've addressed. So when you're doing the upgrades, write them down, file the receipts, make sure you have the drawings, and that way there, people will totally value the work that you've had done. It may not be visible. One of the things that is the toughest part about doing certain jobs in the world is there are expecteds of the world, such as having a roof on the home. Nobody says, wow, you put a new roof on 10 years ago. But when you have the list of upgrades and it says I had the roof installed 9 years ago and had 50-year architectural shingles put on, they say, that's great, I have 40 years before I actually have to put a roof on. But again, with things that are, quote, the expecteds, such as roofs, wallboard, siding, windows, those types of items, once they hit about 3 to 5 years out from when you put them in, they don't look brand new anymore. They don't look shiny and fancy. So making sure that you have that list of upgrades is going to tell the new buyer, these are the dates that I had them done, and these are the qualities that I had done, and these are the items that I actually had a professional install, and that's why, if you have issues with this, you'll be able to follow back up with it, which is going to give someone the confidence they need, as well as the willingness and ability to pay more money for the home. During the time of purchasing expensive things, not only is it important to have the receipts, as well as the plans, as well as the list of upgrades, but keeping the original manuals. Although you can go online nowadays, type in pretty much anything, and find a manual for it, you gotta remember not everyone's tech savvy. Not everyone's going to be willing to go online and download a PDF that gives them the manual. While I agree that it's easier to just go online and grab the manual, the reality is when you show people the manuals for everything that you own within the home, which should be kept in your folder or your binder, you got to show them that you care about the home. Again, the reason I keep mentioning this, you care about the home, is when you go to a home where things are loose, things are out of whack, they don't have any manuals, they don't have a list of upgrades, they're not sure who installed things, it makes you feel as the buyer that they truly just don't care about the home. And I'm not sure why this is conferred by that, but by having all this information like the list of upgrades, the manuals, the proper installs, all that stuff, it's telling the buyer this person really cared about the home, and they're handing it off to you to hope that you care about the home. So whenever I see this, whenever I see a seller that actually has built proper documentation, has a great folder or binder, I see a really happy buyer. And when I see a really happy buyer, I always see that they're willing to pay more money for the home. So just keep in mind with all the manuals, you want to keep them all. And I know it sounds like a pain. What do I do with them all? But get yourself a filing cabinet, get yourself a spot where that folder can be located, and just add them. Instead of throwing them in the trash, just take them out, put them in there. You may never look at them again, but at the end of the day, you have them to hand on. It's the same with warranties. With warranties, pretty much everything we buy, whether it be a shovel, all the way up to the most expensive things like roofing and siding, they all come with warranties. Some warranties you actually have to fill out information, send it into the company. Other warranties are just based on the original purchase. And remember back when I told you to keep all your receipts, the reason you're keeping all your receipts is so that you keep those warranties. When I owned a landscape company in the past, we used to get 25-year warranties on all the shovels. When we bought a shovel and broke it, we were able to return it for 25 years as long as we had the receipt. You better bet I kept the receipt, and I'm sure the company regretted having a 25-year warranty on those. But the reality is, when you keep the proper warranty information, you can go back on the warranty. And as a buyer, when I'm looking at a new property, and I find out that not only do I not have to concern myself with the roof because it's new, but it also comes with a 10-year warranty, you better bet that I'm going to pay you more money for that home because I'm buying a warranted piece of equipment. Same thing goes with ovens, dishwashers, dryers, all of the appliances, a lot of the major expense items. It doesn't even cost you any extra money to get that warranty. It actually comes with the piece of equipment. It's just important to keep those original receipts, those original warranty cards, so you have a proof that you bought it from the manufacturer, because a lot of times they're transferable if purchased through a home purchase, but they're not transferable if purchased person to person and you don't have the correct receipts and information. So when you hand on all these warranty cards and you show them to the buyers, it's going to tell them that this is worth the money because not only is this equipment new, but it's actually warranted. And when you build this folder and you have these warranties, manuals, list of upgrades, all these things, you actually want to put this out at the open houses in different places. You may want to use copies of certain things so that nothing by accident wanders off and disappears, but you do want to show people that you have all this documentation. That way they know this person really cares. Then, when working with contractors, you've done a lot of business with them over time, you want to save any emails that say any sort of guarantees. If they don't have a warranty, but they have a guarantee and it was emailed to you, print those emails off, keep them in your documents, put them within the folder or binder, and be ready to pass them on to the next person, as well as if you have any manually written invoices that come from contractors that give you guarantees, but they don't put out a warranty or they don't put out like an official document, you want to keep those and add those to the actual binder. That way there you have the word of mouth warranty within your binder telling people that, yes, I didn't go with a major provider, but the provider I did go with is able to provide me with this type of warranty. Another really important thing to put in this folder or binder is a list of the contractors you use. Whenever we're buying a home, it can be confusing of who am I going to use? Who do I call to clean the gutters? Who do I call for the irrigation? Who should I call to mow the lawn? Where do I set up the trash bill? All these different things. If somebody's already using the system, it's been good to them, it's trusted, it's the right cost, it's easy to just take it on. Especially on certain things like the guy who services the heat or the guy who services the irrigation. It's much easier for me to take on the existing contractor who already knows where everything is than to take those original plans, which I told you to have, show the next guy where everything is and how he should work on it and tell him everything the last person did. That way there you can just hand it on and they can go, okay, I've been working on this for years. I'll take over from where I was. Last time I met with the person who owned the home before you, I mentioned they should do this. That's where we're at versus I have a brand new contractor. I have to show him all the receipts, warranties, and all the different things and teach him about the system and look for shut-off switches and all the other things that are involved. So if you build up a great contractor list and you could share that with the buyers of your home, it's going to be great value to them. It's going to ultimately help them choose your home over other homes. Another important list to keep is the what has been done and what should be done list. So I've told you before, you want to keep your list of upgrades, but you also want to keep a list of what should be done. What are the things that you're thinking about? What are the things on the top of your mind? And I know you're going to say, why would I tell a buyer what should be done? People are actually more open to the idea of things needing to be done than you think. They actually more regret things that you try to hide from them that they know need to be done than they do for you to tell them, these are the plans of our upgrades. This is our next 5-year plan. These are the things we have in mind for our upgrades and updates. This is actually a really important part of being a true homeowner that cares about their stuff. Knowing that you're building a budget and trying to keep up with everything actually shows that you're a person of integrity and honor versus being somebody who's trying to tell them there's nothing wrong with the home. We're not worried about anything. The other thing is when you say your to be done list, which I've alluded to in other actual podcasts where I talked about home inspection, when you admit that the windows are 5 years from needing to be done, or you tell them that the roof is on the to be done list, it actually undermines their ability to go to the home inspection and then come back to you and ask for these items. So by disclosing that something is either wrong or is going to be wrong soon, you can actually take away their ammo from coming back at you because they quote unquote do not know, and then when the home inspector comes, they're just suddenly going to hit you with the need to adjust on price. So sometimes we're actually building value and other times we're actually protecting value. And by not disclosing what's wrong with a home and not actually letting people know, you can actually set yourself up for failure in a different way than you probably have ever thought of, which is where you end up having to go down because something you knew was wrong was exposed during the home inspection. And because you didn't tell anybody about it, you end up responsible for it. And then you end up mad about it. And it's funny because most of the time that I've ever done home inspections and things come up, the truth is the homeowner knew about it and was just praying that it didn't get caught during the home inspection. And then when it does get caught, they get really mad. And it's like, the reality is they should only be mad at themselves. But the reality of the situation is that they're mad at everybody else. So just remember, by letting people know things that you think should be done in the future, or disclosing things that are actually wrong with the property, you're not actually hurting your listing as much as you think. Most people understand if they're not buying brand new, they're not getting brand new, and that things are going to be needing to be done. And by letting them know the things that need to be done, you're going to show that you're a professional, that you had a list, that you had a plan, and that they shouldn't expect for any money back because those items are coming up. Some other random things that are important when you're buying a home would be if you have any neighbors that you're friends with, their phone list, the email list, things like that. If you have a neighborhood association, all the contact information for those people. Those are really important things, especially when living in a condo. If you have a condo list, who are the people that are in charge of the association? Who are the people that are involved in the different networking groups? Who are the people that go out to the dinners? How do you get a hold of them? What important information should you know about each other? If you're out of town for the weekend, did you have a neighbor that you rely on by giving them a key? All these types of things can build a little bit of a feeling of a true neighborhood versus just moving into somewhere where you don't know anybody. Not only should you possibly send them the list, but you could also take the time to give them a proper introduction to one another. This is going to give them more confidence in your neighborhood as well as in where they're moving into, and also create relationships between you and your past neighbors when you hand off the new people and you introduce them, as well as you and the new buyer. I know some people don't stay friends with the new buyer, but the reality of the world is it's a small place and you can end up doing business with people. You might have friends and family that know each other. So by acting like the person who actually wants to take care of them and give them the proper information, you're going to create great relationships that are probably going to last throughout your entire life. Last but not least, an important thing to give people is what you do to winterize and summarize the home. What I mean by summarizing, because it's not exactly a real word, is making the home ready for summer. And winterizing obviously is making it ready for the winter. Do you shut the water off outside the home, or do you have frost-free spigots? Do you turn on the irrigation system in the summer, or do you leave the water in it? In the summertime, do you put the sprinkler system on for more minutes because the lawn burns in certain areas, or do you not? Do you turn on certain lights at certain times of the year on timers because it gets dark in certain places? These are all helpful hints that you can teach the next homeowner. And like I said, if you put this booklet out at the time where people are shopping for your home and they're looking, and they can look through all this information, they're going to know that you care, that you love the home, and that you really had a great place, and that you really want them to have a great place. Sharing these tips can save them a headache and can build you a great friendship and relationship. Remember, in the world, it's a small place, and you're probably going to do business with the same people's families, multiple times in your lifetime. So keep in mind that giving people great information and being the professional and taking care of your own stuff is going to get you places in life, and it's also going to get you more money when you go to sell your home. If you want to get the most money for selling your home, make sure to reach out to us over here at Movementum Realty. Thanks for listening to the podcast this week. I really appreciate you all. Make sure to follow the podcast, and if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to us directly through email, personal message, as well as phone, whatever works best for you. Thanks for listening this week, and we'll talk to you next week. Have a great week.